So this month of January, we have been setting the tone for the whole year. I like to do this in January, to set the tone for not only Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center, but for ourselves personally. By grounding or regrounding in these fundamental teachings of New Thought, Science of Mind. And we're doing this by delving into a bunch of different books, many books that were written by Ernest Holmes. The first week was this thing called You. Last week was this thing called Life, or The Art of Living, because they changed the name. And this week is How to Use Science of Mind. Great book. How to Use Science of Mind. And so far this month, we have discussed how important it is to allow our gemstone nature, that brilliance within us, to come forth and to shine and radiate the truth of who we are. That beautiful truth of who we are. By removing the layers of debris caused by beliefs, by judgments that we've learned as humans. And they don't really serve us, so we let those ones go and we embrace the truth of our being, which is that we are beautiful children of the divine. Moving into this uninterrupted flow of life. Such a good place to be. And so far this month, we've discussed how important it is to allow that uninterrupted flow of life to move through us. Last week we talked about faith as an assumption, an opinion, and a conviction. So, are we in that conviction of faith? That's where we do want to be. That's where we allow our relationship with God, with the divine, to come forth and guide us. And live our life as an art form. How about that? Live our life as an art form. We get to create it. Let's create a really great piece of art. We create and bless everything that we do, and we develop the conviction, so important to have that conviction, of knowing the universal good is always operating in our lives, in the dark times as well as in the joyful times. It's always present. In the talk last week, we were going, in the talk this week, not last week, in the talk this week, we are going to look at how we are using Science of Mind to create our experiences. How we manifest our desires by allowing the powerful law of attraction to really operate in a very clear way. This morning, this talk there's a lot in it, but it's so key, it's so important for us to really be aware of how we're going to use Science of Mind, this beautiful spirituality. Ernest Holmes, in How to Use Science of Mind, in the introduction wrote, "There is a powerful good in the universe, available to everyone, and you can use it." I think this was the card that Reverend Sue picked. No accidents in the universe, are there? None. Okay, back to Holmes. The book teaches you what that power is, how it works, and how you can use it to help yourself and others. And if you will accept, he says, the simplicity of its statements and follow the instructions given in the examples of how to use this power, you will find yourself engaged in the greatest experiment of your life. I love that. The greatest experiment of your life. The human mind needs and must have a direct approach to spirit. It is natural for us to reach out from our ignorance to its enlightenment. It is from our weakness that we move into the strength, from the darkness into the light. Somewhere along the line, we shall have to surrender our weakness to its strength, our fear to its faith, our lack to its abundance, and that it is everything. It's the universal divine energy that flows in and through in all things, that has created in all things that exist. And so this is what we are aligning with, what we are talking about today. How to use science of mind is all about the consciousness of prayer. So I want us to really delve into that. The consciousness that the master teacher Jesus brought to prayer, and Holmes is speaking to practitioners. We are all, each and every one, a practitioner if we are reading and studying and practicing this spirituality. When I first read the book, I thought, well, this is not for me. I'm not a practitioner. I had a mentor at that time, and he said, oh, yes, you are. And the more I got into it, I realized that if I'm practicing the presence, if I'm practicing these principles in life, then I am indeed a practitioner of science of mind. Wasn't at the time a professional. These people have been studying like for many, 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 many years, a practitioner, but still, nevertheless, a practitioner of this teaching. So don't get, like if you read the book, don't get thrown off if you see practitioner. It means you. So this morning, I want us to look at what the consciousness that Jesus brought to prayer, what is that, and how can we use it? How can we get there? So in how to use science of mind, I got a lot of homes here today because this is the basic, this is the nuts and bolts, this is the prayer, this is how it works, this is the creative process, this is the circulation, the law of the divine mind operating here. So this is really, not only is it good stuff, it's important stuff, really important. So Holmes writes this: our entire treatment, which is prayer, he calls it spiritual mind treatment, is based on the assumption that there is a spiritual pattern at the center of everything. I love that. This spiritual pattern was always there. It was implanted by spirit. The imperfection has been added by the human mind. And what the human mind has put there, it can take away. Free. And he continues still. I never get tired of reading him. What the divine has implanted cannot be uprooted. It can only appear to be covered up. Spiritual mind practice, which is prayer, is the uncovering of our divine nature. Most of us think the purpose of prayer is to change God. Pray to God, we change God, and we're going to do all this stuff to have God cooperate with us. It's a petition, a prayer of petition. But we work so hard to change in God, and I would have to say, and how's that working for you? Because it's not going to work. It doesn't work that way. We are here to change ourselves, to change us. And the only reason that we pray, the purpose of prayer, is to become consciously aware of our oneness with the divine, our oneness with God, with the spiritual pattern at the very center of who we are, the core of everything. Much of the time in this book is spent laying out this concept, that at the center, the core of all, this divine energy resides. And God is perfection, harmony, peace, love, joy, etc. All of those incredible qualities that we are using to try to describe that which is indescribable. It's the nature of all things. The spiritual nature of all things created has this divine center, core, energy that's eternal within them. The spiritual truth that we turn to in prayer in the center of the chaos, there is divine calm. Lack, there is divine abundance. Hate, there is divine love. In the middle of all of these human experiences that we have, we get to remember, the more we practice this, the easier it is to remember that in the middle of disease, there is divine wholeness. in disharmony, disharmony. There is divine harmony. So that's the picture. Do we get that picture? That's the picture that Jesus knew. He knew this. And it's why his prayers were so effective. And that is why he was able to create miracles through his consciousness. Through his no such thing as a miracle. I like using the word miracle, but actually it's the natural unfolding of the divine into life. So how do we get there? How do we get to that state of consciousness? And Holmes gives us wonderful counsel when he writes in How to Use Science of Mind. The universe can only give us what we take. And since our taking is a thing of consciousness, the universe can only give us what we are aware of. No doubt our eternal evolution is an everlasting process. It doesn't stop. It's everlasting. It's a process through which we become more aware of life. It is at least a thing of joy to contemplate that no matter how much good we might be experiencing today, it is but a forerunner of more good. Good and more good is taking place in my life right now. So I'm going to continue with Holmes. It is, though we were dipping up water from a limitless sea. Each day we may use a larger measure, and each day dip up more. The ocean will never become exhausted. As a matter of fact, everything we dip up will again run back into it. It will fill itself up, only with new form. Thus, the play of life goes on within itself forever. Spontaneous self-realization flowing from an infinite sea of self-knowingness. This is all Holmes. Just incredible. And that is why we spend our time in meditation, in prayer. That is why we are here, to get a sense of that divinity within us, and then to connect with others, and it feels so much more expansive. To develop this powerful relationship with a higher power, with this indwelling spirit. We live in a sea of limitless potential, just limitless possibilities. We are one with all that is, was, and ever shall be. We are. We must develop a conviction, as we spoke of last week, a conviction of faith in this spirituality if we want to live a life well lived. So it's all about our faith. And there's another way to get there. And Holmes tells us this. Unless through a simple act of faith we instantly feel the divine center, then we must resort to a method. That's what I want to get into today. To a method to practice with assurance of consistent results. One cannot depend entirely on the inspiration of the moment. We must have a method or procedure, he says, a way to arrive at spiritual awareness through a process of statements. And that's going to lead us right into the 5 steps of spiritual mind treatment. You hear the practitioners stand up here, and I'm going to do one at the end, and they just pray. And you're like, wow, there is a technology, a process to learn. There are 5 steps in affirmative prayer. And we're going to discuss each of these steps briefly. So the first step, for all of you to know, is recognition. So the first thing we do in prayer, we're all doing this, we just add our own words, which makes it so beautiful and unique, because we can use the words. It's not rote prayer to memorize. But these are the steps. Recognition, where we recognize the presence of the divine. There is only one power in the universe, and that power that creates all that is, was, and ever could be. And so we're recognizing God in that. And then the second step is we are unifying our consciousness with that infinite good. We are one with all that is. We are one with this loving energy that we call God. we are one with it. We are uniting ourselves with it. And then the third step is realization. So in realization, if we're praying for something, which we usually are, or praying even to deepen our faith, this is where we claim our good. This is where we say it is taking place right here, right now. And we act as if, because we believe it is. So that is the whole, those are the first 3 steps. But claiming our good in its every form is in that realization. Prayers must be direct and specific. Okay? I'm going to give you an example of that in a minute. But do not outline for the universe. We don't want to outline because it's so much bigger and better than we can imagine. But we know what we want to feel. We know what we want to manifest in our life. So we need to be specific, but not outline. This is the way we're going to do it, God. There's so much limitless potential in that divine nature. So that's what we want to hook into. So in How to Use Science of Mind again, Holmes writes, in treatment, words are always specific and direct because consciousness, our consciousness, must be conscious of something. Therefore, no matter how high one's consciousness may be, it will remain merely an atmosphere in consciousness unless it is directed. In other words, he says, we must know what it is that we want. The universal law can only give to us what we clearly and specifically ask for. So it's very important to really know what we want to experience in our lives, not just manifesting of things, but what do we want to feel from that manifestation of things. And here's an example that he gives it in this thing called life. So he had a client, Ernest Holmes had a client who was a piano teacher. And being a student of the way of spiritual principles and how they work, she couldn't understand why she had been unable to demonstrate supply through her channel of her profession. She couldn't understand this. She was always saying, God is all there is. God is the only mind there is. God is the only presence there is, over and over again. Holmes said she labored under the misapprehension that absolute statements, very general, can produce definite results. No greater mistake could be made in dealing with the law of life. We must always connect the law with what we are doing. This she had never done. And this is why she failed to demonstrate unanswered prayers. Unanswered, why are my prayers not being answered? This is what he's addressing right here. So, building upon that conviction she already possessed, which was perfectly right, Holmes taught her to think in the following manner. I have a service to render. My business is to teach piano. Whoever needs my service, whomever I can personally benefit, those whom I can particularly aid in this art are irresistibly drawn to me now, today, in this moment. Being specific, see? Holmes taught her to live in expectancy that wherever she went, she would meet people who would desire her assistance, who would be glad to have it, and who would be so willing to compensate her for her talents and her services. This is called creating a mental equivalent. A lot of us have heard this word. Picture in the mind, and it's a fancy way of saying you need to identify in your mind and embody in your heart what it is you desire to experience in life. It's holding the mental equivalency. And to me, it's a picture in my mind of what it is I want to experience. This was an This was an entirely new lineup for Holmes' client. It's a new way, one that she had not really done before, and Holmes assured her that in her belief in the infinite, that was all correct. God, those first statements, God is all there is, God is good, all of that is wonderful. And then put our desires with us for all of us. But she had not done that. She had not joined heaven and earth into one unit, one harmonious unit. So a few months after she kept up this practice that Holmes had guided her in, she found pupils in parties, in the theater, on the street. All at once, her friends seemed to remember that she taught piano, so they would refer people to her. And Ernest Holmes explained that there is no magic in any formula, but that nevertheless certain mental methods of procedure persisted and believed in must produce results. They have to work. That's the law, and if we are clear and we are convicted in our faith and belief and know exactly what it is, it cannot fail. So we must have that conviction of faith in the power of God and describe it in our minds and believe our hearts. But we also must connect to the human experiences, what we want to experience here on this plane that we are on. So let's finish our fourth and fifth. Is that making sense?
Yes.
We getting that? It's really important, and lots of times people are not really, it's not explained clearly to them. So our fourth and fifth statement in spiritual mind treatment. So the first step is recognition of a power for good. Unification, uniting with that good. Realization, claiming my good right here, right now. And then the fourth step is gratitude. That attitude of gratitude is always a high vibration. We give thanks, deep gratitude for that which we believe is already manifesting in our lives. We already give thanks for it before we can see it in physical form, because we know it is manifesting. It is all in the process of manifesting. It's in the law. It's going to come back to us. And the fifth, this is an important step, is the release. Releasing this word, this prayer, into the law where I know, absolutely know it is done. If we don't release it, it won't be done. It won't be complete. And in the Art of Living, which is this thing called life, Holmes says, the law of life operates through your affirmation. Nothing can hinder its working but yourself. We're the only ones that put the blocks up. So here's the rub. This is often why prayers are unanswered. We hinder the law of life of operating through us by not really releasing our prayers. We do this we've learned how to do these 5 steps. We do spiritual mind treatment, we're doing our prayer, and then we finish it, and then we go right back into the problem. We go right back into, we haven't really fully released, knowing that God is operating on this word, always in all ways. We go back to it. We've just nullified, we've voided out our prayer. It canceled. The law responds to what we think, feel, speak, and do. So it's responding then back to the problem. So we must fully and completely release our prayer into that law, because that's the action step. It makes it happen. Holmes tells us, love guides the way, the law makes it possible. That's so important. Love guides the way, and the law is the action step. It makes it possible. We worry and doubt about what it was that we had prayed upon, and that, as I said, voiced it right out. The other way we hinder the law of life from working, it is that we hold on tightly to what we think the answered prayer should look like. This is how it should look. This is the when we're outlining it, and I'm telling you, when we let it go and we let go and let God, it's this or something better always. Absolutely. You'll know it. It might not show up as you pictured it would, but pay attention to all the different experiences, calls, guidance that you're getting along the way, because it's working. So that's where our intuition, I'm going to get into that, but that's where our intuitive knowledge will guide us to our highest good of what it is we want. So my friends, capsule this up. How do we use science of mind? How do we become powerful prayers? How do we have that consciousness? One, we open our hearts and our minds to see God's harmony, grace, peace, poise, and power at the center of absolutely everything. It's always present, omnipresent. Second, including ourselves. So these are the 5 steps. Including ourselves, we are eternally a part of the infinite creativity of God. And that's pretty powerful right there. Talk about empowerment. We speak, third, we speak our definite, specific word of what it is that we would like to experience. And then fourth, we are deeply grateful for all this good that's flowing into our life in every different manner. All these channels are wide open and we're here to receive it all. And then fifth, we let it go. We release it. I release this into the law, absolutely knowing it is done. And so then Holmes tells us, have we enough conviction to turn from negative conditions and mentally contemplate their opposites? Can we turn from poverty and want into the acceptance of abundance? Can we turn from sickness to a belief in health? Can we shut out discord long enough to contemplate harmony? We become effective practitioners of this science when we have the will to try, the courage to make the attempt, and the faith to believe in ourselves, because we have confidence in the law of good. The simplicity of this conviction is enhanced when we realize we have nothing to change outside ourselves. We have nothing to change outside of ourselves. What a relief! I don't have to change every single thing in this whole planet in order for me to experience what I want. We have only the power, and the greatest power that exists, to change within ourselves. So we're going to do a spiritual mind treatment now. It's a lot of information, lot of information. And it will be a spiritual, personal one for each of you. So I want you to think about something that you would like prayer around in your life. And begin to imagine what your life would look like when that prayer is answered. Just be in that energy. I invite you to close your eyes. Just be in that energy of, oh yes, I'm so grateful it's here. Look at this. Get that feeling of what it feels like to manifest the very thing that you're praying for. And so the purpose of this treatment, the purpose is that each and every person here is able to clearly and specifically and successfully manifest the good that they desire in their lives. moves into recognition. I recognize there is one power for good, one absolute divine energy that moves in and through and as all things, for it is the creator of all things. Everything has within it this powerful potentiality, possibilities just flow in and through and as each and every one. For we move into that unification and where we know that we are one with all that is. We are one with this divine energy. We are unified in this field of absolute, limitless potentiality. It is all here for us. And so we move into realization where I absolutely know that divine good is taking place in my life. That which I specifically desire is already made manifest. It is already showing up in my life in a myriad of ways. And gratitude, I am so grateful for all of this good that is unfolding in my life right now. I am so grateful for the expectancy of even more good to unfold in my life. And so knowing that this word is absolutely complete and cannot return to me void, I release this prayer into the universal law of divine mind, where this word is made manifest in my life right here and right now. I give thanks for this. I know it is done, and so it is.
And so it is.
So it is.